Part of me kind of wishes I was at the beach right now. Hello to the crowd, I'm John Sooners. Welcome back to another episode of Sonic and the Secret Rings. I am joined here by Nintendo 360.
Hello.
He's joined me once again for this little challenge of mine. And we are going through the Sand Oasis, which does look quite a bit like a beach, I'll admit. But anyways, here is a feature that is rather unique to Sonic and the Secret Rings. It's not just running through the game and just doing whatever. We actually have skills and the like, meaning that it has a bit more of an RPG element to it, so there's a bit more of customization, meaning that later in the game when we get more levels and whatnot, we're going to be able to do all sorts of fancy skills like the Crest of Wind and just run through, getting bonus rings, increase speed, just things of that nature. Like, basically, it's an RPG system for a Sonic game, pretty much. But anyways, here we are, first real level of the game, I could say, Sand Oasis.
And one of the best soundtracks that was ever in the Sonic series.
Well, we'll get to those soundtracks.
Isn't this what the speed mended?
It is, but to be honest, I think the song's a little overrated in terms of Sonic, and for a song to get into Sonic Generations, I'd rather it have been a different song. And I'll talk about which one I would have preferred when we get to that level, but to be honest, I would have rather have had a different song for Sonic Generations at this point.
Crush 40 didn't make this song, did they?
No, in fact, I'm not sure Crush 40 was on the scene at all for this game. I think they might have done at least one song, but
Seven Rings in Hand wasn't done by Crush 40 either, but they did make a remix of it, didn't they?
I believe they did, but it wasn't so pronounced. This was kind of changed, however, with this game's sequel, when Crush 40 had a lot more of a presence in the game, but we'll get to that, we'll cross that road when we get there.
So this is Sand Oasis, and this is probably where the game made history for me. The feeling of speed as you're running around going through twists and turns, like you feel like you're Sonic, but from the second point of view here. Hitting that speed for the first time, collecting stuff, swerving around. You kind of feel like you're Sonic in the moment until you realize you're in the game.
Well, to be fair, this game does do a pretty good job with what it's given us to handle, though I never really was a fan of the whole on-rails part of the situation. I'd much rather it have been a more open-ended Sonic adventure like I had grown used to with games like Sonic Adventure and whatnot, and I just ran face first
into that ball of spiky glory.
Yes, and here is a pro tip for you. Do not block attacks with your face. That's a horrible idea.
That's what I can do, and no one else.
But, are you dead?
I die once a day.
What, you get better?
Yeah, my health insurance covers my injuries.
Nice.
I just pay $5,900 a month. I'm in debt.
Anyway, we just collected a Fire Soul, which is basically the equivalent of the red rings from Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations, or I guess you could say like the Star Coins from the Super Mario Brothers games, where basically you collect them and you're able to get like special goodies and whatnot when you're able to use those. And yes, ow. I keep telling myself, don't block this with your face, but apparently I not do that. But anyways, right now we're a little bit slow, but once we get farther in the game, we're probably going to be blasting through levels just with the sheer amount of speed that we can gain while playing this game. Because of all the power-ups and just all that kind of stuff, we can blaze through levels, whereas in comparison to right now, we're just kind of slogging through at, I guess you could say, a jogging speed.
This is the point in the game where you're supposed to ease into what the worlds feel like, what you transverse on, and how the platformer reacts. It's the adjustment stage that's not part of the tutorial. This is where you are becoming used to the game mechanics in the open game. You're getting it full on, head first, and you're not blocking it with your face.
Yes, and oh yes, by the way, we're traveling down a waterfall of sand! Yep, so that just happened. anyways, we're just running through here. We're almost sort of to the end of the stage. Now we're just kind of going through, smashing pots, getting rings, you know, typical stuff. And wow, that was a weird burst of speed. So that happened. But anyways, this game was originally not the way it was intended. It was never really originally called Sonic and the Secret Rings, but instead a game called Sonic Wildfire, where I believe it was supposed to have the same kind of gameplay and whatnot that you see here. But after a while, it was decided for one reason or another that it was going to be changed to Sonic and the Secret Rings, and have more of like a Sonic, like, I guess you could say a storybook feel to it, if you want to put it like that. But anyways, yeah, that's the first level. Enjoy, because you're going to be playing it a lot.
What I liked about Sonic and the Secret Rings is that you miss a lot of things on the first run through the level. You're trying to go through it fast, as in the Sonic mindset, but you want to go back and admire some of the scenery. So they put a lot of challenges, so you have the chance to go different places in the levels.
Oh, and look who it is.
What's Dr. Eggman doing here?
Who for once is not the enemy in this game.
This is all another one of your schemes.
Except,
What is the meaning of this? I am Sharyar, king of this land.
Eggman, what are you up to this time?
Sonic, wait! You're making a mistake! This is him.
Doesn't he always?
This is King Sharyar.
Really?
Such insolence! Guards, seize this blue spiky thing at once!
Where are your men, Your Highness?
Oh, that's right. Let me explain. When the evil spirits appeared out of nowhere, everyone turned and ran, and I was stuck having to hide in that jar. No! Help me!
Suddenly pterodactyl.
A little out of its time period, isn't it?
Well, guess it's time for a little
Well,
action.
not really. You see, the 1001 Arabian Nights contained all sorts of different stories from all sorts of different places and times, based on the fact that the king wanted a bunch of different stories. Because, with the way that I remember the mythos for the stories, originally the king was actually a bit of a cruel guy, marrying wives and then beheading them if they started to bore him. However, one day, there was one who came along who decided to entertain him with stories. This went on for 1001 nights, and that's how we got the 1001 Arabian Nights. Many of the stories having different elements to them that we wouldn't believe. But anyways, here is the bread and butter, I guess you could say, of the Sonic games, in the sense that now we're going through the same level over and over again, but with different objectives each time. Like, for example, we might have the objective of collecting a certain amount of rings, or we might have the objective of getting to a certain place without breaking pots, or without taking damage, or without dying. Just things like that that kind of add on to the game, which I'm fine with this approach, but with the way that it's carried out in this game, it feels kind of boring and tired more than anything.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but weren't Sonic games home to time attacks, where there were also challenges where people could increase their, knowledge of the game, get better times each time?
Well, I mean, they could, but I mean, this is kind of something different, where instead of you're racing against the clock, you're just trying to do whatever random objective you're intended to do. Like, it's not really intended to, like, test your speed skills. It's just intended, well, in my opinion anyway, it's just tended to fill up time and make the game run out a little longer. Which, if you want to do that, then that's fine, but to be honest, I just think it's kind of tedious.
Sonic's been all over the place, hasn't he? Definitely had his share phase, and even became the main icon for Sega.
Yeah, and for a while, he was pretty much the main competitor to Nintendo's seemingly unstoppable plumber.
And then they began to make worlds. That's how Sonic and the Lost World is going to make they're making another world. It was back in here where you're like, I'm playing as my favorite character, favorite blue hedgehog, in a place where I could learn something. And the game's not educational because you're racing through history.
Well, as
A Book of Legends.
Well, yeah, well,
Are you ready?
as educational as running through this game could be, considering the circumstance.
We gotta break back Dark in this one, remember?
Yeah.
You know, I'm saying you missed the two in the front.
Wait a minute, I thought this one was supposed to not break the jar.
Not break, is it?
Yeah, I think we're supposed to not break any of the jars, because usually whenever you have a mission where you have to break a certain amount of jars or do a certain amount of things...
The jars aren't openly in sight.
Well, not that, but usually, like, there'll be a counter or something for how many you have to get or for how many you have to do, instead of there just not being one in the first place. Like, you'd think it'd be a little bit more pronounced, but because of the fact of the circumstance, there's nothing like that, so odds are we probably have to go through the entire level without breaking a single jar. Which can get a little tedious if
But
you're not paying attention.
It's supposed to test your accuracy. Oh, so you don't break a single jar.
You can't break any jar. If you do, then you screwed up. Speaking of which, we're probably just gonna cut this part out, because honestly, showing the same stuff over and over again gets kind of redundant, so...
Insert speed! And here's where we messed up.
Okay, and we're back. Sorry about that. I'm not the perfect player of this game. And of course I screw up right near the end. But whatever, we at least made it to the end.
You would never know that the one jar is there, and you know the average mind takes 3 minutes, or not 3 minutes, about 3.5 seconds to actually render so you have a reaction.
Yeah, but the one bright side to doing levels over again is that you'll be able to pretty much just get more experience, level up a bit more, and you'll just be able to go through things a bit better. Oh, look, another cut.
Oh, thank you. I thought I was done for.
Tails? What are you doing here too?
Tails? My name is Alibaba.
Come on, Tails. I know it's you.
I'm very sorry. He seems to have mistaken you for someone else. Oh, it's okay. I'm still very grateful that you saved me. I might not be very strong, but I've still got some tricks up my sleeve. If you ever need my help in return, it would be the least I could do to repay you. Thank you. If something comes up, we'll be sure to call you.
Thanks for watching!